Dear listeners, welcome to Out of Office.
Pies that are like miniature form. They're not
mini meat pies. No, pot pies. Sorry, yeah.
Pot pies. Well, it does contain meat, and depending on what part of the U.S. you come from, there might be a southern twang to the pot pie. Because usually, if you were to go to a place that serves a pot pie, like maybe places like that are similar to like KFC, they might give you like it's almost like I would want to give you the example of a regular pie, like an apple pie. With that bottom, that crispy flaky bottom and the crispy flaky crust top. Yes. But instead of a sweet one, it would be savory. So inside would be like your your potatoes. Your onion, celery, carrots. It would be some sort of protein filling, whether it be chicken. Some people use other, like maybe they'll use beef or pork or even turkey. Like, but typically I've had like chicken pot pies, and it's very creamy, thick consistency inside. So almost like I would want to say like almost like a mashed potato-y type. Almost like if you were to eat like a chowder. That would probably be the best way to describe it, like a nice New England clam chowder.
Not even the Manhattan one, damn.
No. The New England clam chowder, like a nice, very, I want to say like voluptuous, silky type of, yes, if you will, consistency on the inside with little bits of heaven of like chopped chicken or something.
Umami.
That's what I've had. Yes, like and nice little portions of vegetables that you can. That it's a very very satisfying dish that you can definitely serve. I've had it. I've made it before.
And, you're just making concepts for the radio right now. Meat pies, beef patties. No, Jamaican beef patties.
And this one. And again, this is just to explain that that's something that we have here in America that might be similar to a meat pie that you would typically find or probably see over in the old country or the old continent in places in Europe, right? Like England or Britain. So I want to say empanadas or beef patties that you would probably
Jamaican ones,
right? You typically would probably go see over at the Jamaican spot, right? At the local Jamaican spot, or even bodega, like a golden crust.
Amen.
Or some bodegas, and even to a larger extent, like even certain pizzerias would probably carry them.
Yes, sir.
So it really depends what part of the country you are in that these things are offered, and even like in the Caribbean, you'll have like Puerto Ricans have pastelitos. Dominicans have something similar to like empanaditas, right? That Colombians have empanadas.
Yes, sir.
Right. So there are different takes and versions of it, but like it really depends on your taste buds or like your palate, which one suits you the best. Like, what is your preference? What is something that you like? And then obviously they come in all shapes and sizes and
the
types
Colombian
of
one is the weirdest one. We made a video. We can reference the video.
Sure did.
We can reference the video along with the pizzas, I think.
Yeah.
You heard that, listeners? We have a video. It's going to be in the link in the description.
And dude, I think if anything else, bro,
we need to make a beef patty one too.
No, definitely. Absolutely. Like, I think at least for me, when I would go to like Golden Crust to get some sort of like, West Indian type of food or like Caribbean food, I would get like some oxtails, right? Or an order of oxtails, or even like
what's the name of that chicken?
Jerk chicken.
Is it like a curry chicken basically, or mole?
Not. I didn't have that flavor profile when I ate it. I had more of a sensation of like a dry rub type of chicken. It was like a nice, very spiced, very well seasoned chicken that was like tenderly, gingerly loved and seasoned, and it had this like smokiness to it, very tender, very flavorful, and obviously that goes along with other like accoutrements, if you will, right? The side dishes. So for me, yeah,
you're eating your main dish with your sides,
right? So typically you would probably have like some sort of rice, maybe, or some sort of
I feel like
rice or something like that. Well, it depends, because different countries have different things, right? A lot of people might gravitate towards a different starch, maybe a potato, right? Or they'll probably do
Ireland,
some sort of, or some people might gravitate, like in India, they like dal, right? So like lentils.
Oh
no, dal is lentils. That's their way of saying a dish with lentils. Usually they have dals, but it's called, I think it's spelled D-A-I-L or D-A-L. I'm not quite sure on the spelling. I could be wrong, but I do know that they have so many types of recipes for different types of dals, and not D-O-L-L like a doll. No,
like they have
dal.
The Barbie brand, this is doll is just a catch-all.
Yeah, no, it's I believe it's D-A-L, dal.
Yeah.
Again, I could be off with the spelling, but they're essentially like, I would say like almost like either for people that are of Mexican extraction like ourselves, I would say like to give you a better understanding of like the consistency, it would be like a mole or but almost like that kind of consistency, like a guisado, right? So maybe like a pipián or something of that sort, but with lentils. So the main ingredient would be the lentil, right? And the lentil will lend itself to the types of ingredients that they're going to add to it to make this guisado. And to be quite honest, bro, I've tasted dals before, like a couple of different types of dals. Bro, delicious. And again, this is Indian food, right?
Yeah.
So,
do you think it'll pair well with tortillas?
To be quite honest, I tasted it with not tortillas, but with naan, right? So
is that like the little tortilla kind of bread?
It's their little flatbread that they have.
It's literally flat, you're saying that?
Yeah, it's flatbread, right? Naan. It's delicious, bro. Right? Others have roti. Others have naan.
What's the Greek one? That kind of bread?
Pita bread?
It's the pita bread?
I believe it's a pita bread, if I'm not mistaken. They might call it a different name. I could be wrong. Don't quite remember.
Don't quote me on it.
Yes. Again, it's been a minute. I haven't had Greek food in a while. But yeah, no, definitely, like, to me, like, those are the type of things that with dal, I'll get like the garlic naan or even the jalapeno naan. Oh, delicious, bro.
Sounds like garlic knots, jalapeno knots.
It has a very similar, I would say, flavor profile, but because of the bread, because of the way the bread is made, it has a kind of a different, a more different type of consistency or chew, if you will, when you bite into it, and it pairs very well with obviously their food, because
you got thousands of years with it. It's gotta.
It pairs very well with their food. Again, a lot of people might want to like do fusion types of food, and I'm all for fusion and whatnot. I mean, yeah, Goku and Vegeta did it. Why can't we?
Goten did it. Why can't we?
Yes,
that's the meme. If fusion, if the fusion of the world, that's the title right there. Food fusion.
And for me personally, bro, like
food fusion,
going back to like empanadas and stuff like that, or like just generally in like
the patties.
Yes, the Caribbean food. You see a lot of those type of dishes that like a lot of the ingredients overlap on certain dishes. Like there's some sort of like oxtail equivalent in the Caribbean islands. There's some sort of like, I want to say, curry of some sort, or some sort of dish with rice, dish with seafood.
Seafood, yeah, I can imagine that.
Yeah, so they have a lot of ingredients that overlap. Plantains being an ingredient that overlaps a lot. for them.
Platone? No, what is plátano?
Plátanos?
Tostones.
Tostones, plátanos,
That's like mashed banana, right?
maduros.
Maduros, there you go, yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of these types of ingredients that they use, and like the islands have those overlapping type of ingredients. But what's really awesome about the Caribbean islands and the food, right, mango, their inspiration or the ingredient that they have, they take it to a different place, similar but not the same. So it gives you this complex type of dishes that you can ultimately have, and they all taste amazing, bro.
Yeah, amen.
Bro, like to me, like I one of the rice dishes that I really enjoy that Puerto Rican people make is arroz con gandules, bro. Oh, arroz con gandules is awesome, bro. I've had
it's basically a staple in this household. Can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, dude. Also, another dish like ropa vieja, from,
you just need to do laundry there, bro.
No. Cubans would be hard pressed to do something like that, bro. It confuse those two things.
They'd smack me across the head.
Yeah, they'd be like, it hit you with a big punch.
And a spoon.
The dish is called ropa vieja, but it's literally I want to say it's a beef dish that consists of like tomatoes, and it's like a very like heavy braised type of dish with different types of ingredients like peppers, onions, what's it called, the brisket or beef component that they have that they cook for hours. They braise it for hours until it's tender enough to like pull apart with a fork.
They don't beat it up? They don't beat up. They don't beat their meat?
No, not in this dish. It's cooked for so many hours, bro, that it just falls apart. And bro, I'm talking about,
sounds like pulled pork without pulling it.
Right. And bro, I like, again, they probably do it with pork. I've had the beef version of it, and like to me it is flavors, bro, with arrocito on the side, some beans, bro. You can't go wrong. Go wrong.
What about the banana? Like for example, in Mexico, my mom made us over there plátanos fritos, right? Like we learned it over here.
Yeah, of course.
My grandma didn't know that dish. I'm like, you can fry bananas? Like, yes, grandma. And then she's like, I have
not all bananas. Not all bananas are the same.
There you go. And then my grandma's like, I got an idea. She went, brought a potato, and instead of she peeled it a bit and all those things, and started making it into. She sliced it like instead of like lengthways, she went the thick width, and cut it into like the circles of the potato, like right?
Chips.
And she fried it.
It made like potato chips or something?
She made fried potato. She made French fries. She fried them. She was like, "Oh, I thought about this."
See.
But she made them her style. Like I added a little bit of salt just for flavor. I'm like, Grandma, you don't know what you made. You made French fries.
Did she put the little smiley faces on them for you too, bro?
No, she didn't know. She's like, you fried the bananas, so why not try the potatoes?
Yes. Next thing you know, we frying Oreos.
I'm like, yes, Grandma. But she made her home style. I haven't had any other style of potatoes. Grandma's fried potatoes, her first experiment. I got to try it because she saw my mom. She got to make. My mom made a fried banana. Basically, my uncle, he's like, oh my God, it's super sweet and good. My aunt knew what it was. Aunt Patty.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, she was here in New York.
Yeah, she was here. She was in Queens, Jersey, everywhere, different places. Best bet she had those dishes. Aunt Guadalupe, she didn't know it. She's like, oh my God, it's pretty good. And then my grandma like, hold up, since she's a street vendor, she went to the storage place where she holds the potatoes and brought like 5 or 6 potatoes and just like, I got an idea, don't throw away that oil. Like, what? And she recycled it, she used it. I'm not saying it was healthy, I'm just like, I got an idea. And I slice. She cut it so fast, like, okay, let me just wash it right here, and then I got an idea. What do you mean? And she She did French fries. She didn't do it like the ones we know here, like optimized for mass production. She made the home ones. I'm like,
that's awesome, dude. Well, but that leads me to think, right, about tacos placeros, right?
Amen to that. Yes.
So you have a bunch of ingredients that are made specifically for that one dish, right? So depending on your personal preference of, like, say,
modular
what filling. Yeah, you could say it's modular. I would say something.
It's a Subway of tacos.
Yeah, I guess because you can
eat it your way.
Yeah, well, pick the ingredients that you want. Yeah. As far as the ingredients or the filling is, right?
Yes.
So it's not a standard size tortilla that you would probably get over here in the States. No. It's more of a Mexican quantity or
if I were
size.
To give it a size, I would say it's around 8 inches roughly, in radius.
Yeah, I would say it's like roughly diameter. A little bit maybe bigger than 10? It's roughly the size of a personal pizza that you would probably buy.
It is big. It is big.
It's
a little bit smaller than that, but yes.
Blaze, I think Blaze Pizza has roughly that type of diameter of
under a foot, but not 6 inches.
Yeah. No, we're not talking about a whole pie like pizza sized, right? Mm-mm. No, I'm talking about a personal pizza that you would probably buy that is cut into 4 pieces. It's not crazy big.
Almost like 8 inches, yeah.
Yeah, almost like if you were getting flour tortillas that you would probably use for, I don't know, like that people would use to make Taco Bell type style food, right?
Maybe, and that's disputable even, unfortunately, because each vendor gets their own source from somewhere else, and it could vary.
Absolutely.
But the base is a tortilla.
Yes, and roughly. More or less, it's something that's big enough to accommodate all the ingredients that you so choose, right?
And these are not accoutrement. These are necessary.
No.
You can't just go with the tortilla.
Absolutely. And more than anything else, depending on who is the person preparing them, they might have some sort of maybe not bias, but they have a better grasp of making a certain item better than others. Like, you would probably be surprised to know that some people have like a good seasoning, or even like just the right touch to making certain ingredients just sing, right? And I would say there's people that are really good at making milanesas de pollo, right? For the people out there, a chicken milanese, if you will, or a breaded chicken, right? And other people are really good at making chiles rellenos, right? Or chiles rellenos, for those people that don't know Spanish. It's very, very common in Mexican cuisine. Stuffed peppers that are stuffed with, in this case, cheese, or in other cases or other recipes, it might call for some other filling of a different ingredient.
These are bell peppers, right?
Yes, the poblano peppers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but they're bigger than the bells, like longer. If you will.
They're a little. They're shaped a little more elongated than bell peppers. Mm-hmm. But also, you would probably have either longaniza or
sausage.
Yeah, like a Mexican style sausage, and you might also have other ingredients, perhaps
potatoes, like rice,
French fries, rice, right? You probably might
boiled
have
eggs,
hard-boiled eggs. Yes. And do you remember any other one? Like
one that was a plant, like a plant. I forgot. My mom loves that one.
Plants, you say? You're talking about nopales?
No, besides that one too. Like she really I think it was the chile poblano. I think
it's probably chile relleno, because on top of that, bro, I mean, you would probably say, okay, maybe it's like rajas, right?
Yeah, rajas. Let's go with rajas. Yeah,
rajas, and this is like basically jalapeno that are
pickled, if you will.
No. They're sautéed.
Oh.
These are sautéed with onions, and
yes.
They're jalapenos that are, not julienne, maybe a little bit more, a little bigger maybe halved or quartered jalapenos that are basically sauteed with onions. And
I'm gonna text my mom to tell me the name of her style. Continue.
So this is what we call rajas, and typically that's two ingredients: onions and jalapenos that are sauteed, and that's another ingredient that you could potentially add to your taco placero. And essentially, what you do is you ask, and obviously in the tortilla they usually put the rice. And then you can pick from the ingredients that they have in front of them, whether it be a piece of breaded chicken, hard-boiled egg. Maybe you want to do something spicier like rajas, or you want to do chile poblano, right? Un chile relleno. And then you might want to or you might want to go a different route and say, well, I just would like longaniza, right? Mexican sausage, and perhaps un chile relleno or stuffed pepper, and you get to pick and choose. And it's like,
by the way, guys, this is out of office. Sorry, I forgot to say that.
Yeah.
Alan here and Marcos here.
So I'm just talking your ear off about this because it's really something that I was actually talking to someone earlier today about Mexican food, and she was telling me, she's from Peru. She was telling me about ceviche, about how.
What is that one? Okay, yeah.
In Peru, they're very well known, especially on the coast, for making ceviche. So it's basically, the one she was telling me about or talking to me about was ceviche, fish ceviche. And typically it's basically cooked with the actual acid of limes, right? And the ingredients that are added to it to give it flavor, seasoning, so that it's a complete dish. Now, it might go along with other accoutrements, but essentially fish ceviche is fresh fish, like freshly caught. It's almost like they're not exactly equivalent, but very similar to how in some parts of Asia, like in Japan, they would do like some sashimi where you eat raw fish, right? Mm-hmm. They have another way of going about it where they get ultra fresh fish, right? And then they prepare it in such a way that it's cooked in the actual lemon juice, or in this case, lime juice. And
some can even say it's still alive when it's being cooked with that lemon.
Well, no, because it's cut up, right? It's already been filleted.
Sliced.
Yeah.
Filleted, yeah, you said it, yeah.
Right, so it's prepared in such a way that you get clean cuts, clean fish, clean cuts, and it's prepared in such a way that it's cooked in the actual acid of the citric juices of a lime, lemon, or what have you, and all the other ingredients that go along with it to give it that special flavor that they have basically mastered for so long. And it's a very well-known delicacy that they make. And she's very much a purist when it comes to ceviche, because she until now has never had like other places that serve ceviche, whether it be in the States or even in other Spanish-speaking countries in South America, mom just texted me. Mexico. Yes, please.
It's a native name. Guasontle.
Okay, guasoncles. Okay, yeah.
What is that? That's a plant, right?
Yeah, guasoncles.
It's with a C or with a T? Because I asked her, is it guasontle? I went with the full T. And then my mom answered it with the CLE, like almost at the same time.
Oh, yes. Guasoncle. And again, bro,
that's a native name. I don't know what it is.
There is no translation. You just have to go with the actual native name. That's how it goes, right?
Can you describe that one?
That one, it's a little tougher for me to describe, bro, because it's very unique.
Oh, she said it looks like broccoli, but more, more
it's
skinny
like
and
I would
sticky,
say,
and like a stick.
Yeah, I guess you can give it almost like a broccoli rabe. Almost like between a broccoli rabe and like asparagus. Almost, it has like, and even then, that's not doing it justice for looks, right?
Is that region locked? I guess for over there.
Typically, I would say yes and no, because it's not very well known outside the country.
Except for natives. Yeah.
Especially not even outside that region.
Area?
Yeah,
The
that
valley?
region. Yeah, the valley, that region area, that it's region locked. It's not even country locked. It's region locked from the actual country, because not a lot of people use those. I usually classify these as pre-Hispanic ingredients.
Do you see those in the city, in Mexico City?
I've never gone to the city to go grocery shopping or
No,
like
just to eat anything, just like have tacos on the street.
but that's never been one of the ingredients, bro.
Dang.
Yeah, wasoncles is something very traditional. I think one of the more obscure ingredients, wasoncles, but delicious when prepared correctly, like any food. But again, we can.
Sorry,
this is gonna be funny. This is gonna be funny. A lot of people nowadays, I would say, would put the equivalent of, and I think you've heard of truffles before, right?
Yes, champiñones. Those are French.
Right.
That's a French name, I think, isn't it?
Yes. So truffles is a very European.
My grandpa would say it that way. I'm like, those are hongos. You can just say they're fungi. No, son champiñones, mijo. I'm like, okay, grandpa.
Right. So very true. But then, I want to say in the last maybe 15 years or so, 10, 15 years, there's been an obscure type of ingredient that's not so obscure maybe in Mexico, but here in the States, it wasn't thought of as a edible ingredient per se, which is called, in English, would be considered called corn smut.
Bless you. And wash your mouth now. That sounds like, stop having your head in the gutter, man. No, that's where they grow, you say. That's where they grow.
Bro. No, and it's very typical in Mexican dishes if you know the actual Mexican name to it. Do you know what it is?
Yeah, it looks like it's like a sticky corn.
Okay, sure.
Is it that one? ¿Cómo se llama? Maíz mortado, something like that?
Nah.
No. Something curado, like a fermented corn or something like that, right?
Yeah, okay, you're getting warm. It starts with the wheat. Huitlacoche, right?
Huitlacoches, yeah.
Yes.
Huitlacoches. It depends. It even depends. Even the way you talk in native language, you can region lock yourself even more into the volcano skirts or the volcano area or out of the volcano. If you're like from the town, your native is way more like, literally a valley accent. And if you're from the mountains.
So this particular ingredient has come into popularity or prominence more than wasoncles, because more than being region locked, it's not as region locked as wasoncles, because any part of Mexico that
has corn,
grows corn, usually are able to produce huitlacoches, right? So
is that the thing, the sticky thing from over there in Japan as well? They have that sticky thing as well. That's their style, right? Our style, the Mexican style, the sticky corn.
Are you mean like the natto?
Yeah, is it like our natto?
No.
I'd say no. It's too simple, right? The natto's way more complicated.
No. It's not it's not a problem of complexity. It's more of how it's intertwined into the culture. Because natto is typically something that is an everyday thing for Japanese people, typically in Tokyo area or Tokyo region.
Yeah,
where it kind of is a staple in their diet for their diet, right? Whether it be something that they eat for breakfast, which is typically done in the mornings.
Unless you're a streamer.
Right. It's never really done out from what I am aware,
And us, with the weekly
it's not like a dinner or lunch or dinner thing. I usually typically have heard or seen a lot of them eat that as a breakfast. Even when we spoke with Kenichi, right? I've spoken with Kenichi plenty of times where, food comes up as part of like our conversation.
Like we are now.
Yeah. And I asked like, typically when is, when do Japanese people enjoy natto. He's like, typically natto is a breakfast thing, and usually it's more of a Tokyo thing than any other place in Japan, where again it's fermented soybeans, right? And a fermented type of item is something that a lot of people in different countries, whether it be pickles or whether it be
peppers,
whether it be kimchi, whether it be natto, there's a lot of foods that are fermented that typically people around the world have something equivalent to for fermentation, but not in the same scope of a region or country. It's like there's certain places that are more adept to eating that stuff and not so much in others, right? Where going back to corn smut, right?
I can't say enough. Huitlacoche, gui, huitla, gui. It starts with a G, like Guido.
Again, it's a dialect, right? The word is
it's not
a
one.
dialect. Yeah, it's not a. It's pre-Hispanic. This is what I call pre-Hispanic ingredients with pre-Hispanic names. So it's not something typically that you would go to the store in the bodega and ask for huitlacoches or cueclas, right? Or chapulines, or
I mean, those are still more common. Even los tlacoyos.
But that's different, right? That's not a fermented anything. That's
continue. Sorry,
yeah. No, but going back to corn smut, right?
You love that, don't you?
It's fun to say, because I mean, people are probably gonna be more familiar with that. Well, even then, right? But it rolls off the tongue a lot easier than huitlacoches, right?
Sure, it does. Yes.
Sure. And honestly, it's been, as of recent, like again, 10, 15 years or so, even maybe even 20 years ago, like you start seeing coming to prominence or and being almost elevated to the same status of truffles.
No way.
Yes. And a lot of really great chefs have tried their hands at using this ingredient that before it was something that the corn is going bad, like throw that stuff away.
Chuck that out.
Yeah. So, but again, people start using these ingredients, and they were making really complex, flavorful, and beautiful looking dishes that are Michelin star quality dishes with ingredients that essentially are pre-Hispanic ingredients, or ingredients that are very avant-garde, if you will. They're nothing that you typically will find, but it's so typical for the people that eat it or use it or have it on hand in the old country.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's probably very difficult to get over here in the States. Now, this is the reason why I think it's dope that things like that, there's that cultural crossover where you start seeing these type of ingredients kind of
it just don't stop, man. It just don't stop.
Yeah, it takes hold into
fusion.
It takes hold and just makes food a lot more dynamic, a lot more playful, different, but in a good way. And again, going back to beef patties.
Back to the beef.
Hey, yo.
Beef it up.
But I think those are the type of things that you start seeing. Like for me, speaking to again to my friend, my friend, she basically is telling me that she's a purist when it comes to ceviche, where she has never and doesn't really think she would be up to tasting some sort of ceviche with mango in it, because that's not something.
It's a little bit acidic now that I'm just super general thinking about it.
Well, the thing is that when you think mangoes, you associate mangoes with sweetness, right? Where the ceviche is typically very, it's not savory, but it's savory in the sense of like there's no sugar added or sweetness added.
No.
The only you get that citrus bite.
Yep.
You get the freshness from the other ingredients that you get, plus the fish that kind of like absorbs the flavor and gives off its natural like fresh sea flavor from
sea major.
from it. From
Yes.
as in like the sea, the Pacific
the
Ocean, I believe.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, the Pacific, even more specific. Pacific.
Right. And to her credit, she says that she might play around with the idea, because I told her, you might be a purist in that, but I'm pretty sure you're the type of person that if someone would give you a slice of pizza with pineapple on it, you would say, oh yeah, delicious, right? And she's like, yeah, I've tried it and I like it. I'm like, I don't like it. I think that's a disrespect to pizza. Why would you put pineapple on pizza? That's not where you put pineapple. Now,
that's what I was gonna say. It's the pizza conversation.
People might get mad and try to beat me up about it, but no, you don't do that to it. You don't disrespect another person's food like that by putting some pineapple on.
You like spitting on food, huh?
Do you like, dragging its reputation through the dirt or something? Like, no.
Imagine the Italians looking at us. And
again,
from Italy.
I'm pretty sure Italians don't even like the concept of pizza that we have, because their probably concept of pizza is a lot more different than ours even, right? And
probably think it's too normal. Ours, it's too fast. It's not. Where's the hominess?
Well, I think it's because of the ingredients that.
But the air though, the air and the water quality, and over here.
I would say maybe the water, yes, gives the dough a je ne sais quoi that other places doesn't. That just simply don't. But yeah. Italy is situated in the Mediterranean in some of the best weather in the world. So I want to say altitude, latitude, and just.
Let me run the numbers. You just giving me
the location it is situated in is ideal for so many things. There are olives to make olive oil. The pastures, the grass that the
dirt literally is different.
Yeah, where they grow their tomatoes, it's a lot different from ours over here. Yeah, in order for them to make a red sauce like a marinara or something of that nature, right? Ooh. It's a lot different from ours. Again, the olives, the lemons that grow over there, their basil. Yeah, I mean, you want to get a little shot of espresso, now and then. Absolutely.
Know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And to be quite honest, it's like you put those things together and you get quality, right? You get something that you can't really copy.
And then you add pepperoni. I mean, and then you add pineapple to it. I'm like, hold on.
Again, people are gonna think, I mean, to each their own, right? But yeah, you can say that, but at the end of the day, when you do things wrong, you're doing something wrong. I mean, you just gotta state facts. You gotta tell a person, hey, you're doing it wrong. But all right, I mean,
to you, hey, if you like garbage, nice.
If you like disrespecting someone, and then you like to not only disrespect them, and then you spit in their face,
But to each their own.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Huh?
You're gonna eat it. That's all.
You can eat it. You can eat that. Whatever that is. Not me. I'll eat a slice of margarita or maybe a pepperoni slice. Yeah.
Something that I never caught on when I went to Mexico that that stuck with me is adding the hot sauce to the pizza.
Oh yeah. I mean, I do that. I do the hot sauce.
Likewise.
Not that I need the hot sauce, but if I so happen to have some hot sauce, I want a little spice in my food, I'll add a little, a little drizzle. But
could that be because of our backgrounds?
I think it's typically known. Usually, Mexicans would say, "Si no pica, no me sabe a nada." Right?
Dang.
If it's not spicy, if it doesn't have some sort of spice element to the actual dish, it doesn't taste like anything. It tastes like under-seasoned or something.
They like their food how they like their women.
Spicy señoritas, absolutely. Not too spicy, because then your tummy might hurt. You know what I'm saying?
Or you might get I'm done. I'm done. I'm done.
Marquitos, what is going on, bro?
What about then the British style of the meat pies? Do they like them plumpy and thick?
I don't know. You would have to ask You would
The
have to
Jamaican
ask
ones,
somebody.
they're plumpy and a touch of spice, you know.
Well, I like their spices that they use for making their dishes. I think they got Scotch bonnets and stuff like that.
Cumin,
right?
I think they said cumin and a bit of African spices, which is even another kind of region locking for the Jamaican ones. I'm like, oh, but from another continent. I'm like, okay, respect.
Again, I don't know the exact ingredients for their dry rubs
crust.
and stuff like that.
Hey, there you go.
But I do know that they make really delicious food, like whether it be like oxtail or
The fish.
or their what's it called?
Even their chicken.
The jerk chicken or whatnot. Like they have really a depth of flavor in their food that a lot of people really gravitates towards. So I think that those are the type of things that I really enjoy about that region. And different places in the world have their like dishes that are really like out there, where it's like, yo, this is flavors. I don't know what the hell it is, but it tastes delicious, right? So
that happened with me with the Indian rice. I don't know, the halal
basmati
guys.
rice.
The halal guys, the kind of rice that they use there. Yeah.
So I don't know what they use, but I know if it's like Indian food, usually, not usually, but
High probability.
it's typically used for, like, if you were to go to a like Indian restaurant, they'll use like a basmati rice. So it's a very long grain rice. And it's very fragrant, very fluffy, and yeah, I think it tastes really good. I mean, there might be people that might not like the flavor profile, perhaps, or because it's a long grain, but I think it's really good. And again, it pairs very well with the dishes that they have, whether it be dal, whether it be curry, whether it be the chicken tandoori, whether it be the...
Is that their version of chicken tenders?
Curry goat?
Curry goat.
Yeah, or any other curry that they might have or offer. Absolutely, those are like delicious. Like, again, I like any place that usually make those type of dishes, or like dishes where you have a bunch of like accoutrements, right? Like in South Korea,
sides. Yes,
right? They have a lot of I forgot the term that they have, like little dishes. Once I remember, I will definitely let you know what it's called. But like you have places or countries where in their actual culture or their food culture, you'll have like a bunch of little plates to pick from, and it pairs very well, right? What would be another place that I can remember that have a lot of these a lot of little dishes? I would say maybe I don't know, maybe in certain places, like in China, maybe they have like a family style meals where you have like big plates of food where you all have are able to grab from the plate, right? And it's family style. Compared to,
yeah, it's the Korean one, not the barbecue one. I've heard this one more in Korean culture.
What is it?
Yeah, no, this kicks me in like when we a hot pot. No, not a hot pot. Is it a hot pot? What are you thinking about?
No, I'm thinking about banchan. That's the word.
Okay.
Banchan.
What was it?
Banchan is our Korean side dishes that go along with your.
What was I thinking? The food?
With your meal.
Yeah.
So, panchan. Yeah, panchan.
Pawn shops.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. It's disrespectful to talk about food that way.
Yes. So these little side dishes usually come with your meal. So it can be like pickled daikon, radish, right? Or jalapenos, like spicy peppers, and like it could be a treasure trove of ingredients, garlic cloves, You might get like a little bit of seaweed. You might get a little bit of kimchi. You might get something. What's another good one?
Does Korean culture have anything to do with ducks?
I think that's more Chinese, like the Peking duck.
And European, I think, right?
French usually do some sort of preparation with duck, which I don't quite remember what type of I think it's duck à l'orange, like if I'm not mistaken, like
sounds like pollo a la limon, orange duck and lemon
orange
chicken.
Duck. I want to say you got the right kind of like idea, but
it's a general idea. It's super general, trust me.
But it's not quite the preparation that you're probably thinking about.
No doubt. I even don't even know how to make the chicken one. But yeah, tell me. That's pretty Sensei.
No, but that's pretty good insight, because obviously the French are gonna do things like the very French way, very escoffier type of cooking, right? So they'll do a very classically dressed duck with whatever orange sauce they make. They might crisp up the duck breast to do like some sort of like crispy layer, and then the duck is like might have been braised, but the skin is ultra crispy. And the way they do it, to get that effect is like some sort of very French technique that they use.
So it's a visual thing too?
Yeah, dude, that's why
doesn't help being kind of blind to recognize that.
No.
Just like, does it taste
what I mean by that is that's why France excels in gastronomy, because they essentially, for the old continent, they were the ones that I guess you can say made headway with perfecting like a sort of style and procedures of how to go about cooking. And this is the reason why French chefs are very sought after. Where, I think the new wave after France was what's it called? Italy, right? So Italian, very Mediterranean, very Italian type of dishes.
The salads,
with not what's it called? Not forgetting about places like Morocco, right? Places like in Greece, or places like Israel or Egypt and stuff like that. Like places
what time frame would you give this?
The Mediterranean. I would say, like, to be quite honest, I want to say like
post or pre-colonization.
No. Just to give you a better understanding from, like, I guess our perspective, as in people that were born in and around late 80s, early 90s. Like,
recent history, modern history.
Yeah. I'll try to keep it in that aspect. I want to say that around late 80s, it was still very French dominated restaurants that got all the accolades and stuff like that, recognition. I want to say like towards maybe
as like an elite style of cooking or a staple.
Right. Yes. It's like
international staple.
Everything was done by, like, I want to say the predominant food theory was French.
Okay. Today I'm learning. Yeah.
So they were the epitome of gastronomy. French cooking was that. They were the ish. They very much are very still in the game of gastronomy, right? But then you start seeing the uprising
around the world, right?
Yes, around the world. I mean, people would travel to France because that was basically the epitome of gastronomy, epitome of food culture, and everything else was, hey, they have food too. They eat, right?
Damn. But
the French not only popularized it, but they excelled at it, and they made it whimsical, and they made a whole,
they made the great just standard. Like, hey, this is just great. They
made a standard that was upheld to the highest of degrees. which people wanted to get to that level. And following that, I want to say mid 90s, late 90s, you start seeing this big overtaking almost, or changing of hands of Mediterranean food in general, but specifically Italian food become the I guess you can say the epitome of the new wave of food. In between this time, there was also a big not uprising, but like I guess of changing also of flavor profiles, because like right after Italian started picking up and having a lot of steam, which they always really had, it was just that
it was
I would say that it was less commonly expressed through the culinary arts worldwide, or embraced more than anything, because French was always, the dominant food or
the
food
saying
culture.
would be like French is best, full stop.
Right, exactly. But once Italy became its own, its own thing, or its own culture of food, and it exported that food culture to other places around the world, because the world became a lot more globalized, a lot more connected. You start seeing a shift from Italian to Asian fusion.
Oh, you can tell this is after the 80s, right?
Yes, this was like late mid 90s, late 90s, and early 2000s. You start seeing that switch from Italian Mediterranean. So you already were introduced to things like good extra virgin olive oil, fresh mozzarella, right? You had like very Italian pastas,
the cheeses, the pastas,
right? The pecorino romanos, the parmigiano reggianos. So you start seeing a lot of this influx of Italian cuisine into the world.
The pizzas.
You start seeing a lot of Greek influence in food as well.
Oh
right?
my!
So
you just triggered me something with that thinking, Alan.
Yeah,
the 80s is the globalization of things, and then the U.S. influenced a lot of the economy of China in the East, and during that time frame, including Japanese, all those things, and there was an explosion in culture globally. May that be the Greeks towards the world, the Italians towards the world, the French being the standard, obviously. But then the Asians, Asian cultures were growing because they were being more globalist. Look at anime. That went even more towards over here, towards the US, in the sense of the late 80s, early 90s. All those things, like not only culture, but food got almost popular, or even more popularized over here to the US and the rest of the world. Just basically, if any kind of food culture influences the US best bet will try to do a fusion, or try to learn their roots and then spread it out through its global networks. And then, everyone else would try to learn about it.
Right.
That's my theory.
I'm pretty sure there's some things that you touched upon that is very true. The globalization helped a lot with introducing, more than anything else, people here in the States were introduced to the mixing of cultures, but more than anything else, introducing them to new ingredients that were perhaps not
they didn't have the supply chain or the logistics
available, accessible, or even more than anything, they didn't know about them, right?
Yeah.
I would say that
like the US was a provider of logistics towards these other cultures.
I would say like even in the 80s, seaweed was never looked at as a food source.
It was the word weed, like weeds. Yeah.
Seaweed wasn't an ingredient that was popular, nor was it something that you would go out of your way to go to the supermarket, middle America, right? You're looking at ingredients that were, sliced bread, peanut butter,
dandelions,
jelly.
Those were also a thing from the Italians that I learned a lot with older garb, elderly individuals. They're like, yo, my mom would always, send me out on the street, go get dandelions and bring it home to eat. I'm like, what? That's just weeds for me. Like, you gotta, clean that up from your garden. It's an edible dish.
Again, yeah, and this goes back to, I think, another podcast that we did when we were talking about a lot of these dishes, or a lot of dishes that have that homey, very like almost you have to be very reverent to that dish is because a lot of these dishes came out of necessity, like many things do. It's like you make do with what you have, and if you have limited resources, you become very, very smart and whimsical and
interpersonal with your resources.
Right. You become very smart about how you go about using ingredients, how to make them delicious, edible, to see if they are even edible to begin with, right? And but going back a little bit to what we were talking about,
the globalization of wheat, yeah.
Right. You start seeing even a little bit further back, you start seeing, like, I want to say towards mid 90s or late 90s, you start seeing a lot of influx of Asian, and more than anything else, Asian fusion. And you see this because a lot of people that are not in the cities can't distinguish between different Asian countries. So you have this amalgamation of like Asian fusion restaurants where you perhaps might think that everyone, and back in that day, everyone was Chinese perhaps, or everyone was Japanese perhaps, or
just Chinese. No, you just said Chinese. You just engulfed the entire like continent, basically, or Asian group right over there when you said Chinese. In Spanish, ve a la tienda china traer to bring things. I'm like, that's a Korean shop, mom. Oh,
right. So perhaps back in the day, the ignorance is bliss type of situation is very appropriate, because it's like they use that train of thought as a catch-all for referring to something that is of Asian extraction, right? So whether that be food, whether that be fashion, clothes, technology, or anything that.
But food though, that one is closer to us as a species, I guess. Like we.
Well, you would think so, right? But that depends on what part of the country you were living in, because you might not have because it became maybe not fashionable, but it became a standard to a certain degree when
the West Coast, right?
Chinese takeout became something popularized and accessible to people in Middle America, and
literally in the Midwest.
And not only in the cities, coast, right? Yeah, on the coast, right? Whether it be New York or California or in other of these coastal
Seattle,
states.
Yeah,
right.
Can I interject with that? My brother did my little brother, the high school kid that's in high school. He did a research paper on how Asian culture got over here, and that was during the. Have you heard about the Shanghai heists in the U.S.?
I don't think I have.
It was a time from in the 1800s, early 1800s, when a lot of you know how the East Coast, Pirates of the Caribbean time, all those things, pirating, the big galleons, all those things was going on the Atlantic.
Okay.
This was a time frame when the U.S. was expanding, right? Expanding west. It took over the stuff in California, Seattle, all those things. There's a lot of history in between there.
Wait, from the East Coast or the West Coast?
No, this like the same time frame. Imagine there's still sailboats, giant galleon ships, right? During the time frame of pirating, all those things with sail ships in the East Coast. The West Coast, the U.S. was going west, right? And with Manifest Destiny, if you will, going west, and they developed California, all those states, right? Whenever they came by, they needed an influx of immigrant workers, or there was the gold rush era, the 49ers.
Right.
In that time frame, there was a lot of hearsay around the world. I don't know how my brother found this, but yeah, even all the way to China, people would find a way to hitchhike onto a sail ship that would say, hey, you going to this place we're gonna go to mine gold, we're gonna go find our future, right? Okay. Some people made it, some people didn't make it, crossing the ocean.
Yeah.
And yeah, they made it here. Some people went into the mountains and dig for their stuff to find gold, and some people didn't make it. Some people stayed in the cities, made their stores. A lot of them were Chinese, and they made a lot of them food stands, because there were a lot of people that were, you know, homesick, like you're saying. And since there was already an influx of Asian sail ships going from over there to over here, Americans, I want to say, were doing a lot of markets going over back and forth. They can bring resources with Asian cuisine.
Right.
And a lot of people made their money, their fortune, that were immigrants. They're living through just cooking over here. They did the resources, everything. And it's during the late 1800s, the early 1900s, it was only a city, like a Brooklyn, like, you know, or like, you know, with that kind of lifestyle, like only the young people would, or the curious, at, you know, the food curious would eat these dishes. But best bet that there was always a staple of Asian groups always going to that place to make it bigger, grow the chains. This was in the early 1800s, late 1800s, 1900s. The expansion, the railroads. Remember when there was the intercontinental railroad, east to west, west to east, north south, all those things that were being built in the 1800s. A lot of immigrants, unfortunately, there were also slaves, but also immigrants were working on it and having a solid base of resources, bringing in food, all those things. Same time as Buffalo Bill, you know how Buffalo Bill became famous with taking down a lot of buffalo. At that same time, best bet that there were Asian workers, you know, working on some of them buffaloes to serve it to their people. Some people went west, some people went east on those railroads and brought the Asian cuisine or style of cooking with the supply chain with them to make Asian food on the East Coast. And I don't know why it didn't stick in the middle with the train stops. Probably did, but it mainly stuck with the coasts, where you can get a solid resources of international ingredients, if you will. But the railroad, probably where the trains are, is where a lot of those internet, like Asian cuisine styles, they probably stayed there, where they can get a solid resource, not in the area, but not on the ground of the area, but they can influx it from the trains, if you will. And my brother was doing specifically just for food, and he said, yeah, just specifically Chinese, super general. He said Chinese in the U.S. It's been around since the 1800s, since the Wild West era.
Okay.
The Gold Rush era.
That's interesting. You
just
mentioned
Asian,
that,
but it didn't grow. It just stayed.
Well,
yeah, go.
From what I remember, vaguely remember, and now I'm not 100% on dates and the name of certain locations, but from what I remember, history-wise, as far as like people that came from China and worked on the railroads on the West Coast, once I guess you could say the work was done, the United States didn't want anything to do with them afterwards.
Yeah.
So
there was a lot of back. Yeah.
Right. They kept pushing on them to leave or kicking them out.
Probably did too in some towns.
Yeah. They did until they finally reached the border of the U.S. and Mexico. And apparently there's a big Chinatown down, I want to say like near the border of Mexico and the United States. And no, I think like around Tijuana, like on the West Coast, not so much on the East Coast or in the middle. And the curious thing is that there's a lot of Chinese influence there, and essentially they kind of like just they made it to Mexico and they never left. And there's a big Chinese population down there that no one really knew about. And again, I remember like searching or researching this up because I was looking for food.
As you do.
Yes, food videos, and this one video, struck me as different and very interesting.
It is, yeah.
And I started looking into that, and that kind of, not that I went down the rabbit hole too much, but it also was something, and that's the Chinese one I was looking at. But then I kind of also came across another bit of information, video as well. where it was being related or said in the video that after the concentration camps that for
Post
Japanese
World War II, yes,
right, in the United States, after they were essentially kind of like not freed from the concentration, the people that were Japanese that lived there were so concerned for their well-being and safety that they all kind of booked it and they left the US and came or went down into Mexico, and in a certain part of Mexico, I don't want to say, I don't quite remember, and I don't want to misquote or missay what part of, but I roughly like towards the middle of the country.
No way.
Yeah, so there was
in
a
the
big
mountain
population.
areas,
yeah, and their situation was so grimace that basically a lot of the Japanese people that moved from the US or escaped the US essentially to Mexico
yeah,
to
they had
reside
it worse. They went
and live there. Well, I mean, you can toss up a coin and kind of be like, no, they both had it really bad, bro. No, I mean,
no, they had a bad. I feel like they were gonna get it worse versus being just imprisoned.
Well, remember, Chinese people were basically worked to the bone, and they died. Just
a lot of them
accomplish a railroad that after they finished it, they were kind of like kicked to the side and not compensated correctly, and not even given an opportunity to become, citizens, right? And I mean, again, that's bad. And I can't really say what was worse or what was better. I think they both got a shitty hand that they were dealt right after, what transpired. But again, the Japanese were so distraught about, what had happened to them that when they moved from or they escaped the US and escaped into Mexico, one of the first actions that they did was switch or change their last names. So they didn't carry on their last names. They switched their last names to typical Mexican or Spanish or last names per se.
No way.
Yeah, so there's a lot of Japanese I guess you could say bloodlines mixed in with a lot of Mexican bloodlines in this region of Mexico.
Do you have a state for them?
If I find the video, I will send both of the videos. Yeah,
you need to share this for the combo for the links over here in the podcast.
Right. And again, a lot of, and even today, right? You see a lot of through those types of events, but also the globalization of the world. You see a lot of overlap with new ingredients being mixed into the culture of other countries, where you start seeing things that essentially, like the Lebanese that left
There's
Lebanon
a saying, yeah, that like a lot of
to
Lebanese.
Mexico.
Yeah.
And this is where we start getting the what's it called? The style
Tacos
of
al
cooking.
pastor.
Right, the style of cooking is because they have the upright
Tacos árabes.
right, the upright spit or the upright what's it called?
Trompo.
Right.
The meat on the stick that's being flambéed, I want to say.
On the stick. That's good, bro.
I guess.
Let's go with that. Let's go. Let's go.
What is it? Is it flambéed or no? I don't know the name for it.
No, oh man. I'll give you the proper name right now, bro. Give me 1 sec.
Like on the street, they're called trompos, which are spinning tops. But if you were look at them, they're just a slab of meat that it's cured.
It's essentially a shawarma machine, right?
Yes, I don't know what that is, but yes.
So if you were to again, let me get you the name real quick.
That sounds like a dance move. Show me the shawarma moves.
Right, so it's a rotating.
Just start spinning like a top.
Right, it's a rotating vertical broiler, right?
Oh yeah, okay.
Or a shawarma gyro, or a kebab.
Hey, there you go, kebab. Yeah.
Type of vertical broiler or.
But this thing is huge. It weighs like the meat itself, I'd say, could weigh up to 100 pounds. The piece of meat right there.
In Mexico, you would typically call it a trompo machine, right?
A spinning top machine, basically, in English.
So essentially, you get that style of cooking and those type of equipments from Lebanese people that immigrated to
that is
to
everywhere. Over there.
So and it became very popular, right? And then you get that marriage of food culture, mix it with the Mexican food culture, and you get tacos al pastor.
Tacos árabes, even, yeah.
Yeah, and very delicious food come out from these marriages.
Al pastor is what? Pasture? No.
Pork.
Pastor?
Yes.
Isn't that like a herder tacos that you can get it like from like a sheep herder, a goat herder?
Well, again, I think al pastor is either pork or beef. I'm not mistaken.
Well, I've had beef mostly.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. I don't know where my mind was. But I was thinking carnitas for a sec. I'm sorry.
Amen. I mean, yes. Continue.
So you get al pastor, and you have other types of styles of tacos that are very they can be regional, like they can be very typical, and you'll see it a lot in different places, right? Where in the city over here in New York, you might be accustomed to seeing a lot of tacos al pastor, or you might see a lot of tacos. What would be another typical one, like carnitas? Probably something that people
tacos de milanesa.
Well, tacos placeros, I would say probably, yeah. Right? That people might know and a little bit better.
All those styles that come with just that name alone.
Right. So I would say that as far as that goes, like you see a lot of these marriages of food culture coming together once people go to a different country. Now, again, speaking towards or about the Chinese influence in this northern state of Mexico, when they were essentially kicked out from the U.S. and they had no other place to really go to, so they set up shop there, and very I guess special thing happened where a lot of this food culture kind of mixed and melded together to make something new, a lot of fusion. And same thing I would assume or probably happened with the Japanese moving or escaping the US and going to Mexico, which is very interesting to know that I would surmise that a lot of the influences that we get from these people that basically escaped or were kicked out in one way or another from the US and they came to Mexico, or they went to Mexico, really not only adapted but really flourished to a certain extent. And I think it just goes to show you that like hard work is something that you can't fake. And when people are really about flourishing and doing their best, hey bro, they essentially found their American dream, but not on that
another country. Yeah.
Well, let's say not in that part of the continent, maybe just a little lower.
It was the American dream, all right, but on the continent, they've considered the Americas is the continent. So forget what I said. Continue.
So a little play on words,
Yeah.
But again, I think going back to the Asian fusion food that you start seeing develop in the US during like mid 90s, late 90s, maybe even the early 2000s, you see a lot of like Asian fusion restaurants where it's not 100% maybe Chinese,
Thai places,
right, or Thai or Japanese or Vietnamese. You start seeing a lot of this fusion. A lot of hibachi places, right, where people cook in front of you, start,
isn't that
dominating.
Japanese?
Hibachi?
Yeah,
I think it is. I'm pretty sure it has elements of Japanese food style. Maybe something like almost like the way they cook certain types of proteins and stuff like that, or the ingredients they use. But again, a lot of it's just for show in order for them to charge whatever they charge. Yeah, of course.
I would go to that just for trying it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you start seeing a lot of Asian fusion again. Like I said, maybe it's their interpretation of how they would do like sushi, or how they would interpret making some sort of like ramen or pho, or how they do spring rolls, or how they would make maybe their version of I don't know, what would be another good one that they would probably make for dishes that are not 100%
Original Tao.
One. Yeah, again, that's a good one, because okay, who is this Monsieur General Sao in the Chinese legions, right? Of in what province does he?
He was a general from the war.
Yeah, right.
And a good cook too.
And a lot of these like fusions, you can start seeing like people tracing back like the Chinese fortune cookie from the takeout spot
from America,
directly from America and California, right? So these are the things that you start realizing. You're like, oh, okay, that's interesting. That's not very authentic, but it became
in China. Why would we give you a cookie for free? It ain't free, bro. The Americans say no.
And it's funny because it becomes a staple linked to a culture that have nothing to do with that staple that now in our minds and in our hearts we kind of associate with, right?
What's my lucky numbers?
Right. And I think it's really funny, but I'm pretty sure it happens a lot to a lot of other different types of foods from different countries, where I think with Mexico you associate a lot of like either spicy food, but also a lot of tacos, right? A lot of burritos.
That's not wrong, the tacos part.
No, obviously not, but you can start seeing like the lines blur when you start thinking about, well, we might think, and this is again just a point of view, right? We might think, as in you and I might think, and there might be listeners that maybe have the same sentiment, where Taco Bell isn't Mexican, right? There's nothing. There isn't
Chipotle even.
There's nothing Mexican about it, right?
No, yeah.
Well, just a little quick tidbit, right? You know how they spell Chipotle on their.
It's wrong.
It's not how you spell Chipotle. That's how you phonetically sound it out, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe in English,
yeah,
not in Spanish. It's not how it's spelled, but
and
again,
it's the native. It is the native one. It just gives me a little bit, a tear in my eye. That like, oh, they went for a native language name. Okay, respect. I can forgive them on this spelling, but hey, let's talk about brass tacks here. The food, the rice game. I feel like they should, do more research on the rice. I wouldn't even blame them if they went for arroz con gandules, to just cut off the beans and combo the rice together and go for a Caribbean arroz con gandules. I wouldn't blame them for it.
Well, again,
this is me, obviously.
Yeah, just to go to
you're eating, just still, shows us. I can hear you eating.
No, it just goes to show you that a lot of these things we might not think of it as Mexican food, but a lot of people, this is their way to connect in some way. Maybe not, in the most authentic way, but this is their way to like reach out to, rub against a different culture that might not be theirs, that might be new to them, and it might be like
today I'm gonna eat a little bit spicy. I'm gonna go to Chipotle.
Right. This might be like a soft, opening for their palate of, well, perhaps it's not authentic, but it's a way for me to have my door, have my foot in the door to trying something new. And maybe
Irish people walking out of Chipotle, they say, ha, ha, ha. And the Indian guy from the Indian restaurant just looking at them, weak.
Which I think a lot of places would probably be surprised that Irish people also went to Mexico. Right. I do believe Canelo Alvarez, the boxer, has some sort of Irish blood in him.
Went for the immigration, stayed for the tequila.
and I believe it was because Irish was the people of Ireland were giving aid or helping Mexico in some sort of battle or in some sort of war of some nature. And again, I'm totally spacing on dates and places and people, but again, something that you guys might want to research if it interests you. Again, this is all
off
on
the top
you guys.
The noggin, out of office.
Yeah,
remember,
and this is just
listeners.
yes, and this is just me trying to remember
train of thought.
My information that I like to study, I like to look into because I think it's fascinating.
And I like listening to these, like, you make my mouth water every time when I'm talking about food.
No, and I think it's really interesting and fascinating the way that we're able to correlate and kind of piece together this puzzle where we start seeing a lot of these influences trickle down into our very culture, the way that we perceive food, and how we share these things amongst each other as not only people of that are under one flag, but as people that live in this world that we can kind of like understand, hey, we're not so different after all, and this food is banging. I need some of this and I need some of that, and let's eat.
Can I get your number?
Yes. And dude, I'll definitely pass, or I'll try to figure out
just those two, the story ones that you told me.
Yeah, the videos, and I'll definitely send them your way, and definitely you can upload them to the show notes or whatnot.
The other one that you're talking about, food from Ireland and Irish. Another thing that I feel like people get triggered is the bread, because I had not a coworker, but something about where I work at the courthouse. There's a lady that just because of her hobby of doing kettlebell competitions.
Okay.
During the pandemic, she became a high-level competitor, and then her team went national, and they won nationally. Then they went international. Guess where they went?
Mexico?
No, they went to France.
Oh wow! Okay,
yeah.
France is a different ballgame out there, bro.
They went, and she said, "Yo, something that I'm looking out for. What? The bread." I'm like, "What?" Yeah, we're not only gonna do the competition. After the competition, they're gonna do like a 2-week stint around Europe. And she's like, "This is gonna be simple, but I'm looking out for the bread. Go for it." I said, and in my head, I'm obviously getting excited because bread always food. And I'm like, "Go for it. Let me know how it goes." And it happened, right? And she took a time off like for a week and a half, I think 2 weeks, maybe almost 3 weeks. She came back.
Okay.
And she came back and she said, like, "Yo, the bread is different over there. Baguettes, I don't look at baguettes the same way." Exactly. I was afraid of that. In my head, I was saying, "Yeah, you got the OG, the baguette. You got she went to Germany, had the pretzels over there. Like it's totally different."
That reminds me, bro.
The bread game in Europe is real.
Yeah, dude. And something that reminds me of that you reminded me of is I remember that I wanted to at some point, and I might do it this year, hopefully, if I have a little bit more time, extra time.
Yes.
I wanted to start my own sourdough starter.
Sourdough starter.
Yeah, to make sourdough bread at home.
Yo.
And I don't know if you ever heard of sourdough before.
Isn't that for bread? In any kind of bread? Or just normal bread?
The reason why it's called a sourdough is because you make the sourdough starter with obviously with the yeast and the flour, but the starter is something that you make at home, and you keep feeding it flour in order for the microbes to feed off of it and create more. Sounds like making beer dough.
Or something.
Yeah, it's a fermentation process, yes. And essentially, there's people out there in the world that have had their starter, their bread starter, their sourdough starter for darn well.
Don't you dare say 1,000. Don't you dare say 1,000.
Like 5 generations or more.
That's over 100. That's like almost 120.
Yeah, they've had it for quite a while. You gotta go to
Europe to get the OG ones then.
Well, to be quite honest, there's some that have made it to the US already from I want to say different parts of the world, because I believe and I believe because of obviously migrating immigration and stuff like that. But also, I believe there's some sort of a library or a place where they catalog starters from around the world, and it's an institution or
probably
a
the
lab.
Culinary Institute, right?
I think it's located in Europe. I don't know if it's like in some like maybe in Germany, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe in Luxembourg. I don't quite remember the place, but and again, I saw a video about it as well.
You need to share the video now, that one.
Yeah, and it's very interesting the way they go about. They treat the sourdough as a part of the family. I mean, it's really it's really crazy because they have to keep it at a certain temperature. They have to
tuck it in at bed at night.
Continuously feed it in order for it to grow.
It's hungry. It's like a
it's a living organism. And
it's a Tamagotchi.
Yes, and it wants to be fed, burped, and changed. And
basically, and the things that it changes out, it's bread. You make out the ingredients for bread. Delicious bread. And
I think one of the more more interesting aspects of it is that it's there's a bunch of, I don't want to say health benefits to it, but I would say it's a lot safer according to experts that I've seen related to this actual subject. It's a lot safer to eat the sourdough bread that you make from your sourdough starter than if you were to go to the supermarket or the grocery store to buy a loaf of bread nowadays, because the loaf of bread apparently is made with fillers and not real dough or flour.
Like the Subway one.
Not only the Subway one, but if you go to the supermarket and get a loaf of Wonder Bread per se, or
but it's
I'm just
wonderful.
Yes, it's wonderfully not bread.
Dang it.
So and again, it's something that I really enjoyed watching and kind of motivated me to try to figure out a way if I'm able to get my hands on.
So you said this in Germany, right?
No. I don't remember where they catalog, or they have this library of starters that people send their way in order for them to catalog. Yeah, catalog it, but also run it through tests to see the type of I want to say amino. Yeah, the aminos that it has inside of it, like the actual molecules or whatever.
The fermentation. There you go. The biosphere.
That it pertains to, right? So what it's been fed, what type of complex amino acids that it might also have inside the actual, I guess the DNA of the actual dough. So they get very technical, very scientific, and I think it's awesome. And from what they were explaining,
can hook us up with that. Hey there, listeners. Yo, if you guys got a sourdough starter at your house, if you got our European listeners everywhere, you guys got this a full announcement, beep 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 beep, addressing all listeners. If you guys got a sourdough sitting around at your house, or know where the sourdough library is, give us a holler. Send a picture.
Please.
Something on the social medias, please and thank you. Please. Right, Alan?
Yes, absolutely. Please do that.
Yeah.
We need to know.
We need to know the bread, the bread statistics. Give us that bread data, that bread knowledge. Bread for days.
So going back to
bread made me do it.
About the aspect of bread, bro, is like it's a lot healthier and a lot better tasting, and your body can actually process the bread that you actually eat. And I believe one of the major issues that it was tackling or dealing with is that people are constantly becoming gluten gluten free, because
intolerant.
Intolerant to gluten, because of the fact that a lot of this food is fake food, for especially the bread aspect of it. And
So sourdough helps fight the helps those people.
Sourdough is actual bread that your body can actually process. So
That
even
took
if it has
thousands of years to understand that, though. Can you imagine that?
if and they seem to speculate, or they seem to point out more than anything, that your body is able to process gluten that is not over processed and not riddled with fillers that are unedible or unable to be processed through your actual body. So essentially, it's like microplastics and whatever.
Oh, you're talking about microplastics now? My God.
No. Well, I would say not microplastics in the sense of like.
They say that we are on average
that's
as
what
a
it
human.
is.
Yeah, it is. It is what it is. You're not wrong.
No, but what I want to want the listeners to know more than anything, more than I just mentioned that as a catch-all, but what I want you guys to take away from this more than anything else is your body is able to process real food opposed to food that's over processed and filled with fillers that are more than anything not
helping
real
the
food.
company, but not you.
Yeah, their bottom line looks nice, but not very much your health or whatever you're putting in your body, right? So that more than anything else, that's what I want you guys to take away from it. Now, I will definitely share the video with Marcos, and Marcos will definitely put it in the show notes. So please,
Yes, please,
when you guys have the opportunity, if you guys are interested, please, take a look, share, whatever the case is, the video. Or if you're the type of person that actually has a sourdough starter, please reach out, share the pictures with us. We would love to see your sourdough starter.
We have a social media on Instagram. You can also put a little video right there.
Yes, please.
Tag us.
Yeah,
LTS.
definitely. And I think it's one of those things that
Same thing on Twitter, though.
No, yeah, of course. But one of the things that I really enjoy about the aspect of, like, in particular right now on the subject of bread, is that it's something that it's been very globalized as well. A lot of people, even in countries that maybe bread wasn't a staple before, have come to make bread a staple as part of their diet, culturally, whether it be in one way or another. But bread has been taking a stronghold of food culture for many countries, even ones that never had bread to begin with, or have the types or styles of breads that we're probably used to here in the States, and maybe in other countries in Europe or what have you. And it's interesting to see that, we are able to, obviously it's time consuming, and, but I think it's a good way to not only be productive and do something with your hands, but it's also something that you can share with other people. And I've heard of, in the video, I've heard of families that, one of their, wedding gifts from one family member to another has been a sourdough starter of some sort, because it's something that they can pass down from generation to generation. And I think that's pretty neat. I think it's really awesome that you're able to do something like that. And I don't know, it kind of made me wonder, hey, why don't I start a sourdough starter myself? So once I get around to doing it, I will definitely share and update everyone with that information. So yeah, definitely I'll share the video once I get it. Marcos, I'll definitely send it to you, and I hope the listeners are able to enjoy that as well. Marcos, I kind of lost my train of thought about what the hell we were talking about from the beginning. So
back to beef patties, now the crust and bread.
I love the beef patties and the Jamaican
Show me
beef
the
patties. Hey, you. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about, bro? Because I know you sent
food.
I know you sent a bunch of videos, and I wasn't even able to begin to see
Nah. Food is the awesome. I can talk for hours, and we've been talking about hours. Yeah, I feel like we've been talking for a good time with food, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Dude, big facts.
I could still go for days, and maybe even have for breakfast and still keep talking about food.
Bruh.
You made your whole you educated yourself on food. Your best bet on me asking.
No, yeah, and I think it's interesting that we're able to talk about it, because sometimes it's like food gets so repetitive and in this day and age, right, where everybody automatically reaches for their phone and opens up one of these food ordering apps that deliver food to your house. And not to say that there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying sometimes it's so monotonous, it's so repetitive. It kind of becomes like you eat just to eat because you know you have to eat, and it takes away a lot from the experience that you're having with your food. Not that you're gonna be romantically wooed by your turkey club sandwich. I'm just saying that it'd be nice that you actually take time.
Chicken cutlet, man. Italian chicken cutlet, man.
Yes, but I think there's something to be said about actually taking time to appreciate what you're eating and kind of be conscious of what's going into your body, because essentially that is fuel for you.
That's body's your temple, gentlemen and listeners. Your body's your temple.
Yes, and I think it's something. And I think it's very important that fellas, ladies,
listeners,
you might want to take the time to sit down and enjoy your meal, because
listen to our podcast.
Yeah, while you do it, even double dip. Those are the like truly some of the more, I guess, best time you can take advantage of you just taking the time to stop, breathe, think, and eat, and enjoy your meal. I think there's something special. Is it called
kneading your dough? Knead your dough, something that you can also.
Oh, breaking bread. Maybe.
Yeah, you can also making your sourdough recipe. You can just listen, relax.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, I think it's a special ritual that we should take a little more advantage of. And I know it's very tough if you work out and about, or even if your house filled with kids, right? And maybe
roommates.
Yeah, maybe you're not able to do it, but if you're able to take a couple of minutes out and try to make sense of all of this, and more than anything else, enjoy your meal, I think that you would probably appreciate it and feel a lot better about what you're doing, what you're putting in your body, and hopefully that would catapult you to feeling a lot better about your aspect about life,
and with
your
that
outlook
statement
on life. Yeah,
what do you think? Want to call it today?
Yeah, definitely, bro. I'm cool with that.
Well, dear listeners, wherever you are, if you're sitting down, standing up, working, doing whatever you do, thank you for joining us at this installment of Out of Office. My name is Marcos, and with me is...
My name is Alan.
Thank you, okay? Remember, you can find us, get at us over here at our social medias with Instagram and Twitter. What's the name of our Instagram, Alan?
That's a good question. I don't remember. I'm lying. It's called LTS Pod.
And it'll be in the show notes. And and on Twitter, it is the LTS Podcast, the Life Tech and Sundry Podcast. Also, link in the show notes. And thank you once again. This is Marcos.
Let me just make a quick correction. It's LTS.pod.
Oh, okay.
On Instagram.
LTS.pod on Instagram. Okay.
Yep.
Till next time, this is Out of Office. Peace.
Peace.